Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 137 of the Run in the Paint podcast. I'm Miles here with Ben, Nick, and Joey. Guys, how are you doing today?
Feeling good, feeling great. The off season is away.
What's up, fellas? We're back.
Happy July 4th to all you guys. Hope everyone had a great holiday weekend full of celebrating. Hope everyone stayed safe. But we're back here on the podcast, and luckily some things have happened today. We've got a lot to talk about. It seemed like we weren't going to have a whole lot to get into, but we had a trade. We just got some news right before the podcast started, so we got a lot to talk about. So let's get into this. We're going to start off with PERTL. And man, we need to bounce back. The last few we have not done very well on, so we need to do well on this PERTL here today. Ben, why don't you give us the first player to guess here today?
Give with Mikal Bridges today.
Ooh.
Mikal Bridges. All right, let's try him out. Played for a few teams now at this point. Mikal Bridges. All right. This is going to be a Western Conference guard who is going to be shorter than like 6. He's going to be 6'3" and under, and he's an old guy who wears a lower jersey number than 23. So this can't be very many guys.
Mike Conley is the first name that comes to my mind.
I was thinking Conley as well, actually.
Like
Could
Mike
be.
Conley, Chris Paul, yeah, Mike Conley. Two people thought of him. Let's do it. Mike Conley. Let's try him out. Okay, so he's not that old.
And he's exactly 6 foot.
He is that small, though.
Yep, 6-foot guard, not in the Northwest Division, and he's going to be younger than 35. So this player is between the ages 31 and 34, and wears a single-digit jersey number. So this is not going to be Chris Paul, because this player's not that old, and not in the Northwest. So that cuts out OKC, Denver, Utah, Portland.
It's tough because you'd think this would be like a well-known guy, because guys who are that small make it like a couple more, like to their 30s in the league. Like you typically know about them, but I can't.
Yeah, they typically don't stick around that often. So when they do, they should be like prominent in our minds.
Like I think Garland's Isn't Garland 6 feet?
Yeah.
Yeah, Garland's 6 feet, 6'1".
There's not many guys like that. So like when they make it to their 30s, it's. I don't know.
Is this Fred VanVleet?
Is he 30 now?
Yeah.
He's probably in his 30s.
Yeah, I would guess that.
Fit.
I think he fits.
Let's guess that.
Fred VanVleet.
There it is.
Yeah, it is.
There it is. Good.
Yeah.
Good thinking.
Right, we're back on the board with Fred VanVleet. So let us know how long it took you guys to get good old Freddie from good friend Jackson Goglin's Houston Rockets. We'll talk about a little bit later. They've definitely been a winner of the offseason. But now let's get into the 3-team trade that happened yesterday. Woke up to this trade between the Heat, the Clippers, and the Jazz. In this trade, the Heat got Norman Powell from the Clippers. LA gets John Collins from Utah, and the Jazz get Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love, and a 2027 second-round pick from the Clippers. So this kind of came out of nowhere here, this 3-team trade. Joey, what were your initial reactions? You could pick any of these teams to talk about first.
My initial reaction is Kevin Love's Instagram and him just absolutely trolling as always. And I'm going to miss him when he retires, but he's just absolutely hilarious. But to stick with the Jazz, they kind of sold John Collins, and you only get a second-round pick because you're 100 with how their team is built. They're 100% going to be buying out Kyle Anderson and Kevin Love.
That's what it feels like for the Utah Jazz. I mean, Nick, they really have not done a good job of managing these assets, and they haven't gotten a whole lot in return for these guys.
Yeah, I mean, you've made the case in the past about Utah finally like making the decision to be bad and like no longer playing the game in the middle where they go halfway through the year and then decide like let's start losing. But when you're going to be in that position, like you want to bring back those picks to like help your future and stuff. So if they're obviously mismanaging. Yeah, it's not a good look. What did Kevin Love post though? He posted the David Spade. It was David Spade. It was like
the Joe
we don't
Dirt
want you
clip.
here. Joe Dirt. Okay,
Yeah.
that was what it was. And aside from that, Miles, you letting all our viewers know that you sleep till 3 p.m., which is when this trade was released. No, I'm joking. Said you woke up to the trade.
Oh yeah, that's right. But no, I mean, Utah once again, I mean, just a poor job of managing their assets like we talked about. I mean, Ben, when you are a rebuilding team like the Jazz are at this point, the only way to really get out of the gutter is by drafting well and by trading the guys you have currently under contract for future assets or players that can help you. And Utah really hasn't done that now with John Collins, with Colin Sexton, who they traded earlier in the summer to Charlotte for Yusuf Nurkic, and then they buy out Jordan Clarkson. I mean, this is a continuous thing that the Jazz have done, really not getting anything back for these valuable guys.
I know it has been. I mean, to me, it's kind of like they're the Chicago Bulls of the West, and yeah, it's not great having thought about that. I mean, yes, they should have looked to trade these guys earlier. I guess they would have gotten more back, some picks back earlier, but they just kind of waited too late. And really, what happened was they lost Clarkson and like did they trade away Jordan Clarkson to the Knicks or
No, they just
that
bought
was
out.
just free agency? Yeah, okay. But still, it's like basically they lost Clarkson and John Collins and Sexton all for Nurkic, Love, Anderson, and a 2027 second round pick, as it shows on the screen. And yeah, that's just pretty disappointing in return. That's not too good.
Yeah,
I would have wished if I were Utah that I would have gotten more picks back. Instead, you have like 3 older guys who really aren't going to do much for your team. Just 1 second round pick, like a first round pick or anything,
Yeah, these are 3 players that I mean, look, as fans that are on the outside looking in, we really have no idea how to gauge value of these guys, especially consider or compared to the guys that are in the front office making these decisions. But for 3 players, Clarkson, Sexton, and Collins, that at some point over the last 3 years for that Utah team averaged between 18 to 20 points per game. Like, these aren't just, your throwaway players. These are pretty good role players that can help winning teams. And again, they just waited to trade them, and they basically only get that Clippers second round pick in 2 years. Again, it's just mismanaging assets. And, last summer they extended Lauri Markkanen, their all-star, to a contract that is really one of the more untradeable ones in the league at this point. I mean, Markkanen, I believe, is making like $56 million or $54 million this season. And in this new age of the league where you have to be so careful with who you're paying a certain amount of money to, Markkanen, who's a very good player, but on a championship team, he's probably your second, third best player. You can't be paying him super max type of money because now you can't trade him at this point because he's not that number 1 guy.
I like the comparison that Ben made, or it's very much Bulls-esque. Very much. They just, especially like the Bulls that we always said, like trade these guys at the deadline or right before because you could get a whole lot of value. There's especially at the deadline just because there are so many teams every year that are just vying to compete and contend that, especially Sexton, Clarkson, and Collins for the Jazz, they would have been perfect for any of those contending teams as a bench guy. Bring off the bench Jordan Clarkson. We know how great he's been as just scoring off the bench for the last 10 years or so. Like, I don't know. You could have easily got him something over the last, like what you said, 2-3 years. We've been talking about, who are they going to trade? Which one of these guys is going to get traded? Because we saw this coming, and now here we are.
Yeah, and just quick housekeeping, Markkanen is on $46 million, not 56. That's a little crazy. But the comparing salaries, Markkanen is on the same salary for the upcoming season as Jamal Murray, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley. He's making more than Luka Doncic, Trae Young, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam. All these guys, Lauri Markkanen is the 18th highest paid player in the league. And they had a chance last summer. There were reports that the Golden State Warriors were interested in making a move for Markkanen. He would have been a nice piece for that Warrior team, but Utah didn't want to do it. And they give him this extension, and again, he's it's really untradeable. I mean, the money is going to decrease over the next couple of years, or at least the next 2 years before it goes up again in 2028 and 2029. But just a rough situation for Utah, I think. I mean, we talked about it on the last podcast, kind of comparing the trades that Utah did to what Brooklyn did, getting Michael Porter Jr. and leaning into being bad. And look, at least Brooklyn is getting first round picks. Utah is not. And, again, the only way out of the gutter when you're building a team in a small market like Utah, or we saw it with our Cavs and we've seen it with the Thunder, is by drafting very well and by trading veterans. Like for OKC, remember, they traded guys like George Hill, Al Horford, guys on that Thunder team for future assets. And now look where, the Thunder and the Cavs are in the standings. Utah has not done either of those things. To this point, they have not drafted well. Maybe this year their rookies will change that. And we've just outlined they have not traded their things away properly. So it's just a rough time right now for the Jazz.
Yeah. I don't know. I will say, though, if we want to switch over gears to one of the other teams, I like the Heat bringing in Norman Powell. Norman Powell had a career year, and you gave up two guys like Kyle Anderson and Kevin Love that you clearly don't need and don't want, and you bring in a guy like that. Oh, my gosh, that is huge for the retooling Miami Heat every year.
Yeah, I like the move from the Heat. I also think that they're a pretty decent winner from this offseason. I like what they did in the draft, too. They drafted Jonas, I'm pretty sure, at number 20. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was a guy that slipped down from, dude, I'm telling you, when I started making my lottery video, he was in top 8, top 5 conversations and stuff. So to get him at 20 was great. And then, the Powell thing, Joe, absolutely right. He had a career year last year, and you give up two guys who don't really fit with your sort of timeline. Isn't there this year for Miami? I mean, you're looking for maybe a couple years out, hoping to extend Bam and see what he can do for you in like 2 or 3 years out. So, yeah, Norm maybe fits that mold a little bit better, or his contract fits something you can trade for in a couple months or years.
Yeah, I mean, Ben, a pretty low-risk, high-reward type of move with Powell on the last year of his contract, and someone that you would think fits Heat culture with the way he can score. And, we've seen at times he can be a pretty good defender as well.
Yeah, I think he could fit that culture, and I really like the move, too, for the Heat. He need another, good score there, I would say, to go along with Hero, and Bam is like a third option, and I think he could be a great third option over there. And, he had that career year last year at the Clippers, and he could do something like that again with the Heat, possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just a great move for the Heat. And, with giving up Love and Anderson, not really valuable pieces at all. If it doesn't work out with Norman Powell this year, it's whatever. I mean, you didn't give up much to get him. You could just let him walk in the summer and you clear up some cap space going forward. How about for the Clippers? Again, Norman Powell was a great story in the league last year, bumped up his points per game by 8 or 10, throughout the season, nearly made his first All-Star game as well. And then after that, the Clippers clearly sell high. Nick, what did you think about the Clippers getting John Collins out of this?
Yeah, fills that spot. Well, I believe that they got someone else in there behind Zoo, didn't they?
They got Brook Lopez.
Right. Okay, so he just slots right into the starting lineup then. Yeah, good move for the Clippers. I mean, they're looking to be getting home court advantage in the West, kind of competing with everybody that's not OKC and Denver right now, in my mind. So looking to get home court advantage of their 2, 3, or 4 seed, and finding a fifth starter in the offseason is a pretty good move for a team in that spot.
100%. I completely agree. I think it was also another good move by the Clippers. Harden kind of went back to his all-star form, played great last year. You get Kawhi Leonard. You don't have that many years left with them, so you kind of have to go all in. And Norman Powell, yeah, he had a great year, but how much? It's not. You're not giving him up for. If you're going to give him up, you got to get a starting caliber person. And like Nick said, John Collins kind of slots in, fits right in there. Otherwise, you have to have Nick Batum, who's solid, but he's old. I'd much rather have an athletic John Collins who doesn't need the ball. He can score like he has for Utah, 17 points per game. You said, but I don't know. I think that's a great move for them. You can always slot someone in to be a shooter, especially like they have Bogdanovich still. So Bogdanovich done. They'll be fine. They might sign another sharpshooter, maybe get another backup point guard or something. They still got some work to do to compete, like Nick said, with OKC and Denver. But this is a great move to solidify yourself to staying in that like middle of the pack playoff spots.
Yeah, John Collins, a very good season last year in Utah, averaged 17 in his 2 years in Utah, but last year, 19 points, 8 rebounds per game, shooting 40% from 3. I mean, that's pretty good, and he still has some of the athleticism there. Ben, how do you think Collins kind of fits in with this Clippers team?
Yeah, I think he will fit a good there. As Vic said, yeah, he can slide right into the power forward spot. They needed to fill a gap there. They needed, better at that position, and they definitely get better at that position by adding John Collins. And now, I mean, it's not really the best the shooting guard position, but I mean, I've been hearing recently with the Suns that it's seeming like they're probably gonna like actually move on for Bradley Beal sometime soon. And I've seen some rumors about the Clippers being a team interested in possibly getting him, so they could possibly get Beal, and he'll slide in to be a shooting guard there to place Powell potentially, and also Joey brought up the backup point guard thing. There's also been rumors with Chris Paul potentially going to the Clippers in his last NBA season. That would be a cool reunion.
I like those moves. I like those thoughts there.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like since the Damian Lillard thing happened with Milwaukee, it almost seems like the Suns are like, okay, we can do this. We won't look awful if we decide to move on from Bradley Beal either. And if that were to happen, I mean, look, Bradley Beal is still a very good NBA player. I mean, a lot of times I feel like a player's value from the fans gets, diminished because of the contract and how much money they are making. And Bradley Beal on a $53 million contract with a no trade clause is not good. But if he's on a good contract or on the mid-level or the minimum, which he would be on if he gets a buyout, that's one of the steals you can get in the league. He's still a great scorer. He was just honestly in a pretty bad situation there with the Suns. I mean, Nick, what do you think about the possibilities of maybe Beal to the Suns and what Ben was talking about with CP3?
Yeah, I think Beal would be a great fit at the 2 spot. Just be able to create some space for Harden, who, where he is the whole system. I mean, Beal's coming off of 17, 3, and 3. So, like you said, still very productive and whatnot. But Collins, I didn't realize he shot 40% from 3. I thought he was more of like a two-way sort of like lob threat guy. I mean, he's still got that, I'm sure. But the same way Luka, like, sort of dominates with a lob sort of threat and whatever. I think Harden will really benefit as well from having some more athleticism on the court. That's not like Kawhi. I mean, Derek Jones Jr. is a high flyer, but he's not. I think Collins will really, add another layer.
Yeah, I think just a great situation for the Clippers. Of course, the Chris Paul, Bradley Beal things, just speculations. None of that's official yet, but it would make a lot of sense, I feel like, for all 3 of those sides, Chris Paul, Beal, and the Clippers, to make all that work. Because, look, I mean, in a Western Conference where obviously OKC was incredible, they're the champs, and they're going to be the favorites next year, and where Denver got better, Houston got better, Dallas could maybe be a threat next year. Clippers are low key, making some moves here to become a deep team again. It feels like every single year for the last like 10 years, even going back to the Lob City days, Clippers could be a team that might fool us fans again into thinking they can do something, man. They might be able to do something.
It's the one thing I'll always say ever since Steve Ballmer took over. He always makes that team interesting. You always got to keep your eye on them. They're never completely out of it.
Yeah, no question about it. So excited to see what the Clippers do going forward. But either way, good move. And, we're talking about the moves for next year. This is also, the reason they make this trade is because, they wanted to sell high on Norman Powell. They didn't want to re-sign him to a crazy deal as he, gets into his mid-30s. And their books are now cleared up for the summer of 2027, 2 years from now, where there are potentially going to be a lot of big names on the market there for Los Angeles. I think James Harden's contract that he re-signed this year, he has like a player option for that summer. Same thing for Kawhi Leonard. So they're just setting up their summer for that year to be able to bring the team back up again. I think that it's a very smart move by the Clippers to be prepared financially going forward, but also still, really, making the most of this stretch you have with Harden and Leonard, who are still good players. Harden an all-star, and Leonard, they, kept him, having minutes restrictions throughout the year so he could be ready in the playoffs. And in that first round against Denver, he was unbelievable in that series. So Clippers definitely could be a threat in the West.
100%.
So before we move on, we do this with every
What are they
trade.
doing?
This is a big one. Let's go ahead and grade the trade from each perspective here. Or Nick, did you have something else?
I was just wondering what they were doing with Ben Simmons.
I don't think he's going back there. I think he's moving on.
It just reminded me when Joey said they're always interesting. Steve Ballmer. I was like, yeah, they had Ben Simmons playing center last year.
Oh, God. He should go to Australia.
Oh, yeah,
Play with Delhi.
Yeah, could play with Delhi. But no, there are some pretty good backup point guards like on the market. Like even like Malcolm Brogdon still hasn't been signed yet. He's someone that's been mentioned with the Clippers, could go to other places as well. But let's grade this trade from all three sides. Joey, why don't you go first? What would you grade this trade?
For the Heat, probably a B plus, just because, like you said, low risk, high reward. Never really know what's going to happen. You could always use a score. We saw how it was in the playoffs against the Cavs this past year. They need a score, so yeah, I thought it was good for them. Clippers, kind of the same thing. B plus. Again, you sold high with Norman Powell, and you brought someone in to replace him not to replace him in the starting lineup, but you get another starting caliber person to fit another hole that you had. So that's good. And the Jazz, you get a D, because come on, a second round pick for that, you could have done better. You could have at least gotten like a protected first round pick or something to give yourself some hope or something. And especially since you're going to buy out Kevin Love and probably Kyle Anderson, like you literally only got a second round pick back.
Like, yeah, that's what I mean. At least make it seem like you're trying to get a first, like a top 29 protected first round pick. Something like that, just to make it. I'll give my grades quickly next. For the Jazz, they get an F because they've done a terrible job of their assets. Talked about it a lot. Miami, I give them an A because I don't think that there's really any way that this could go wrong. You're right, Joey. Going back to the playoffs, they got obliterated by the Cavs in the first round, and a lot of it was because they really had no answers for the Cavs defense in that series, and they needed some scoring, and they really didn't give up anything to get a guy who nearly made an all-star game last year. So they get an A. Clippers get a B+. Nick, what do you think?
I would give the Clippers and the Heat A minuses. Pretty self-explanatory. Did a great job. But I'd go a little easier on the Jazz. I give them like a C or a C+. They did get off of like a $25 million contract, freed up money going into like next year and stuff. So they don't need to do anything, to change their position in terms of like where they want to be and be bad and draft high. So just putting them, like loading up to put themselves in a better position for the future, I guess makes sense.
Definitely fair. Ben, how about you? What are your grades?
For me, I'm gonna give a A for the Heat. Really like it for Miami, and not very much risk in that trade, as we've mentioned before. They just needed some other score, and they get a good one there, Norman Powell. And for the Clippers, um, I'm gonna give it a B plus for the Clippers. Overall, like it. Good trade for the Clippers. I mean, it's kind of tough having to get rid of Norman Powell. He had a career year with the team last year. It was pretty good, but to get it, it was hard with the contract thing. I think he would have wanted a lot of money, back there with the Clippers, and his value was high. So I think it was a good decision to move on from him and then get John Collins, who's feeling good at the power forward position. And for the Jazz, I'm gonna give it a D. Yeah, not a very big fan of what the Jazz were thinking with planning on trying to move on from John Collins, and then also Clarkson and Sexton too, and wasn't too impressed with what they got back for John Collins in that trade.
Yeah, Father Time might be defeating Danny Ainge right now. He's Danny Ainge is usually the fleecer. Recently, he's been getting fleeced in these trades. At least it seems like.
Mhm.
Yeah, but definitely nice to have that trade. Definitely shake some things up a little bit. Moving on, I guess let's quickly talk about this. The Kevin Durant trade is now official, and it involved 7 teams. The first 7-team trade in NBA history. I mean, we really talked about the important parts about it. Really, the only teams that really matter here are the Rockets and the Suns. I'll quickly go through this. The Rockets in this big trade, they get Kevin Durant from the Suns, and they do a sign and trade to get Clint Capella from the Hawks to add some center depth. Suns got Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Kaman Maluach, Rasheer Fleming, Kobe Brea, Daquan Plowden, then 2 second-round picks. The Nets got 2 second-round picks. The Warriors got 2 picks in the 50s this year with Alex Tuhey and Jemai Mashak. Atlanta gets
Jemai
David
Mashak.
Jemai Mashak. Okay. Atlanta gets David Roddy, who they already released, a 2031 second-round pick in cash. Lakers got Adu Thero with the 36th pick and cash, and the Timberwolves got Rocco Zakarski, the 45th pick, with 2 seconds and cash. So that's the full trade. That's the first 7-team trade in NBA history. Wow.
Outside of KD and Clint Capella, everybody else and Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks. It literally seems like everybody else you mentioned was just 2K auto-generated players. Like I don't know a single one of those guys.
I mean, the Suns haul is actually pretty big. I mean, I don't know who was advising Matt Ishbia to make that trade because, there's no way he can recall all 18 assets that they received back. But
Yeah,
it actually sounds like a pretty decent haul for Kevin Durant in terms of like the names and the picks.
Yeah, Phoenix. I mean, we talked about at the time they end up getting a young, talented player in Jalen Green who still has a lot of room to grow. Dylan Brooks, a good defensive veteran. They got their backup center right now of the future. Come on, Maluach, and then 4 second-round picks. So not bad at all for the Phoenix Suns. But we already talked a lot about that trade. The rest of it was kind of just draft day deals that got connected all into one. Next bit of news that we got right before the podcast started was that the Orlando Magic have agreed to a 5-year max extension with Paolo Banchero that could reach up to $287 million. That includes a player option. We knew that this was coming. Paolo Banchero is, an incredible player, and now really the Magic's core four, you could say, with him, Franz Wagner, Suggs, and Bane is really set for the next, really 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, what was the final number again?
It could reach up to $287 million with, I'm sure, incentives and all that stuff over 5 years.
Over 5 years. So quick math is what? Something like 70?
Yeah. Let's see. Probably about. Let's quickly. 287 divided by 5, 57 per year.
Okay.
which probably is a max of, he'll probably end up getting 70 on that last year with how everything gets fluctuated. But yeah, definitely well-deserved deal. And Orlando is definitely set up. I mean, the last few years, they haven't really been that aggressive with this young core. They usually never really make trades or crazy transactions. They're going in this summer, which is definitely good to see. We talked about the Bain trade when it happened during the finals, and now everything they've done since then kind of solidifies their core and how they're trying to make that next step. I mean, the next step for this team is definitely going to be making it deeper in the playoffs. They've made it the last 2 years. They haven't won a round in a while. It's probably since what 2010 with Dwight Howard when they went to the conference finals, or 2011. So that's definitely the next step for this team.
Very good by the Orlando Magic. That's your franchise right there. I know that they got a whole core four, but Paolo is clearly the best one in that entire team. So he's your franchise. He's going to hopefully be there forever for all of Orlando's fans. But this is the first step. This is the big ass extension. Well deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. Next, let's talk about this Jonas Valanciunas Denver Nuggets situation, which is a very unique one. Denver, who's had a very good offseason. They started it by trading Michael Porter to Cam Johnson and to Brooklyn for Cam Johnson. And Porter, who was originally he's on a $31 million salary. The Nuggets basically got Cam Johnson, Valanciunas, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Bruce Brown, and all four of those players combined make less than Michael Porter Jr.'s salary. So great moves for them. But there was a little bit of a twist when, I think it's Panathinaikos over in Greece, one of the top EuroLeague teams, was looking to pry Jonas Valanciunas away from the NBA, and Valanciunas seemed to be a little bit interested here. Which Joey was a little bit shocking. I mean, this is a pretty good opportunity for Valanciunas, and obviously, this is tough for Nuggets fans to hear because they need a backup center for Jokic. That's been the biggest flaw of their roster since Jokic has gotten there.
I truly thought Valanciunas is kind of like one of the missing pieces that they needed because depth has always been the biggest issue because they always have over the last many years. They have such a crazy good starting lineup, and it's as soon as Jokic comes off the floor, it's such a big drop off. And Valanciunas is a really good, serviceable, solid center, way better than DeAndre Jordan, who was their last couple of years as their backup, who could maybe play 5-10 minutes a game in the regular season. But
NBA champ.
NBA, I know. But I don't know what Valanciunas is thinking personally. The only logical thought I can think of is he's truly kind of like a Jokic, where he's like, hey man, I made all this money. I want to be with family. I want to be back in Europe. Maybe he just wants to be closer to family and wants to stay over there. Maybe he's just sick and tired of the NBA, and he's already made millions upon millions of dollars. He's already got that generational wealth. So I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of, but because I don't know why you would, if you could still play in the NBA and be on and get traded to a top contending team in the West and in the entire NBA, why would you want to go play in Greece? But to each their own, I guess.
Yeah, the thing is, Valanciunas is still under contract for this season, and you can't just ditch your team and go back over unless the team agrees to buy you out of your contract. We saw that last offseason when you guys remember Sasha Vezenkov from the Kings and the Raptors, EuroLeague MVP. He got traded to the Raptors in the offseason. He wanted to go back overseas. So the Raptors were like, all right, well, buy out your contract. You can go back overseas. That's okay. But this is obviously way different. Ben, this is a valuable piece for this team. I mean, Joey mentioned it's been DeAndre Jordan, Zeke Naji, Vlatko Chanchar. Like, it's been crazy, the backup center position there in Denver. And even if it is only for 5 to 10 minutes, I mean, a lot of times over the last few years, that's where the Nuggets have lost games, in those few minutes where Jokic is off the floor, and Valanciunas could definitely help them.
Yeah, he definitely helped them. Yeah, kind of odd that he might not want to actually playing the Nuggets, which are a contending team, and yeah, that could be difficult. They somehow had to like buy him out because he would actually go back to Greece. But I mean, hey, maybe he'll somehow play in the Nuggets, and if he does, then that would be big for them. That would be great. They obviously badly need that off their bench. They need that would help Jokic get some more rest and make the team with even better depth, coming up next year, look better in the non-Jokic minutes. And yeah, it's kind of a bummer, but I mean, they can hopefully find something to make up for that there if Valanciunas somehow like doesn't want to play with them. I mean, Deron Holmes will be coming back. Maybe he can develop good and be something. Who knows? They could be able to like sign Al Horford or somebody else possibly if Valanciunas doesn't play. But yeah, the time will tell. We'll see.
Yep, Nick, anything else to add on this situation?
Just that that backup center position for Denver sounds a lot like Cleveland Browns starting quarterback rotation since whenever they came back in 1995.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that situation.
What are the risks though? Hold on, if Denver doesn't buy him out and he doesn't want to be there, then what?
Well, I
He
guess
holds
we'll
it.
get to that then. I mean, I mean, he'll probably get fined and suspended if he doesn't play. I mean,
I was gonna say it'll be a holdout, kind of the same thing you see a lot of the NFL where people hold out to get contracts, but he'll hold out to get his contract bought out, and then he'll get fined a bunch.
Can't NBA players quit though? Can't they just quit?
no, I mean, unless
It's a contract.
yeah, you're under contract unless he retired, which that's like the only way I think that could happen.
Yeah.
Which,
All right.
who knows? I mean, I think it'd be a crazy situation to walk away from when he could just go to Greece next season, just wait a year and play. You're playing for a championship. I mean, again, this is a big role for this Nuggets team, but we'll see what happens. I'd be shocked if he actually went back to, Europe this summer, but we'll see if anything comes from that. Quickly, a couple of other roster moves that could have some impact throughout the league. The Rockets, with all their free agent signings, had too many players on their roster, so they made a couple transactions to clear up some space. First, they waived Jock Landale, an Australian center. He ends up signing with Memphis, and then bit of a shocker here. They traded Cam Whitmore to the Wizards for 2 second-round picks. This was a bit of a shocker to me because Cam Whitmore is a pretty good scorer, pretty good player, only 21 years old. But of course, with that stacked Rockets, young core of players, never really got a chance to play that much, over 20 minutes a game or anything like that. Joey, what did you think about that?
Do you have the Rockets roster? Do you have a picture of it? Just because.
Yes, I do. So I have it here.
Yeah.
Cut out Whitmore, cut out Landale, and then you got the Rockets roster.
Yeah, I think it's really just Cam Whitmore is gonna be such a good player, and I truly think so. And with how they're set up, and he can't be one of those core guys. I don't think. I think they'd rather get Reed Shepherd some more minutes and Tari Eason, and they want everybody else. They have so many other guys that I feel like they want to contend now, especially since they only have a year or two left. You're 3 years tops with Kevin Durant, I think, and they just got to maximize it to their potential, and then they got to build for the future. So I think they're just like contend now, build for the future, because as soon as that window's up, they're going to have contracts lined up, and by that time, Cam Whitmore's probably going to be deserving of a bigger contract, and they just probably won't be able to afford it. I think it was as much as it is confusing and it is a bit kind of a big loss for the Rockets. They're going to miss him. It's probably the smart move.
Yeah, Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, his value is high as it's going to be right now. If you're going to have those minutes for Reed Shepherd, which is I think what they're going to try and do. If you're not able to play Cam Whitmore, then he can't increase his value, and this is the highest value that you're going to get for him. So like Joey was saying too, yeah, if he does turn into a good player, then you're not going to be able to pay him anyways. So kind of hamstrung here, but did what you had to do. Got a couple picks.
Yeah, good for Cam Whitmore, and honestly, good on the Rockets too, because there were some reports that they honestly could have gotten more, but they wanted to send Whitmore to a situation where he could play and where he could thrive, and the Wizards certainly a place where he can do that. So I give a lot of credit to the Rockets for that.
I was gonna say the Wizards are actually like the perfect spot for him. I feel like, especially with that insane young core they have there, I think he'll flourish there, and he'll probably get a big contract there. At least I hope so.
And he's from like the DC, Maryland area as
Oh.
well over there, so he gets to go back home too.
Rockets doing right by their players. You love to see it.
Yep, and excited to see what Cam Whitmore can do, because we know he can be a pretty good player. I mean, even in short glimpses last year. I mean, in his 2 years, he's played 98 games. He averages 11 points per game in just 17 minutes, which is pretty good, like per minute production for such a young player. That can be pretty efficient as well. I know, our boy Goglin here, when Whitmore was on the Rockets, compared him to be an Anthony Edwards light player, and I've seen some flashes of it. Now he'll get to spread his wings there in Washington, who continues to have a great offseason, by the way. They've done a very good job in that rebuild. And then another trade here, the Grizzlies traded away Jay Huff to the Pacers for 2 second-round picks. Now, this is pretty good for the Pacers after losing Miles Turner. They get a guy who honestly can fit their system pretty well, Jay Huff, who really got his first minutes, as a player this year. It took him 4 years to finally get hit a rotation with the Grizzlies, but pretty athletic center. It's funny. I don't know if you guys have seen. It seems like every time he dunks, it's the same reverse dunk animation. He can't just do a normal two-hand slam. He always does a reverse. And now he goes to the
signature
Pacers.
move.
I mean, he can shoot the ball well. He can score. I mean, he averages 7 points in 12 minutes per game. Another guy that's a great, per minute production player. So good for the Pacers for that trade.
100%.
Yeah, I'd like for the Pacers. He'll fit in good there, and I mean, he's at least somebody they can have for now.
Yeah, it's pretty much what the deal is with that. And then next, let's talk about Summer League, NBA Summer League. It's already started a little bit in Utah and the California Classic a little bit, but the official thing in Vegas starts on Thursday, which is going to be fun. On Thursday, I believe the couple headline games to start off on Thursday are the Mavericks versus the Lakers. Cooper Flagg's Summer League debut. He'll play up against Bronny. That'll be at 8 o'clock. And then at 10 o'clock, the Spurs and the Sixers will get to see VJ Edgecombe, who had a good debut a couple days ago, play against Dylan Harper. Nick, what are you excited to see in a Summer League? You're thinking about going to Vegas, we hear.
No, I don't know. I'm excited to see the Magic's new logo on their jerseys.
Oh, true. Yeah.
No, honestly, the first game of the day is someone I'm looking to see is Jeremiah Fears, 7th pick for the Pelicans, and someone who has a crazy motor, a second step that's lightning quick, really good burst, and gonna be watching him early. Games all day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, it'll be a really fun weekend.
Jeremiah Fears, probably going to be the #1 selling jersey besides Cooper Flagg this year because of the Zero Fears. It is the toughest jersey ever.
Definitely one of the best jerseys out there. Ben, what are you excited to see up from this Summer League? Any particular team, any players that you're excited to see?
I'm excited to see the Wizards. Matt showed in our group chat that they're gonna have a loaded Summer League team. Even pretty good second guys, Alex Starr and Bub Carrington will be playing in the Summer League this year, and I'm pretty excited to see if Carrington and Starr could maybe like dominate or something in Summer League. How their growth is looking, and I'm excited to see how Trey Johnson can fit into the mix as young players, and I think I like that for the Wizards chemistry wise too, with them having like Starr and Carrington even playing too in Summer League, because Trey Johnson And, Will Riley, the rookies they drafted this year, can start building up some good chemistry with the second-year guys that will be playing in Summer League, as those are the guys they're basically trying to build their future around with. So the Wizards are being smart again with how they're going about Summer League, I think. And I'm intrigued to see if they can do super well in Summer League. And anyone else really? I'm intrigued to see the Nets because I'm guessing they're gonna have those three big point guards playing in the Summer League, and I'm just interested to see. Well, can that all fit any good during Summer League, or will I look like I was right from the draft and it doesn't turn out so well? I'm kind of intrigued to see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, teams like the Wizards, the Nets, and also the
Pelicans.
Jazz are so interesting because, I mean, they're basically playing their regular team in the Summer League, so that's always going to be
Yeah.
fun. I think in Summer League it's always tough to gauge. You never want to take too much away from Summer League because it is the first time that, these rookies are playing, at this sort of level. But what I always do like to see is kind of what you were talking about, Ben, is those guys that are heading into their second year and seeing if they can dominate, because those guys are the ones with the experience that have played. So it's important for those guys to definitely play well on this stage.
Ben, you made some good points about the Wizards. I think that they're going to be one of the top teams in the Summer League this year. Derek Queen, I think, is somebody who has a lot of pressure on him to perform early in the Summer League because, he slipped outside of the top 10. And like I was saying, Jeremiah Fears is there as well. So hopefully Fears will be able to, take the load off of Queen and, ease him into the game a little bit. But that's something I'm definitely going to be watching for in the first week or the first game on Thursday.
Yeah, Joey, how about you? Anyone you're looking to watch?
Obviously, I'm going to be watching the Utah Jazz a bunch because based off of the first game, we know Walter Clayton's the best player on that team because Ace Bailey is dog doo-doo. And VJ Edgecombe just absolutely destroyed him from that first Summer League game. But yeah, no, I'm excited for a lot of guys. Obviously, Walter Clayton's my guy. I'm very excited to watch him. VJ Edgecombe was surprising, and Bronny James. I know he's got obviously he's going to have a lot of headlines and a lot of spotlight on him, but at least in the highlights that I watched of the game they already played, he looked much more aggressive. Like what you say, you expect out of second year players, guys that just it seems slower to them. They can just get what they want and just do what they want. They don't have to do it, but you can just tell. They don't have to go crazy for 20-plus points. I think he only had 10 points in that game, but he had a steal and a dunk, and he had 2 threes in the corner. Nice and easy, exactly what you want.
Yeah, I think he himself talked about it a little bit where, everyone wants to score 20 points, 30 points. The way he's going to fit in is defensively with his athleticism, and that's what he's, showed so far. In his time in the Summer League and in the league so far. I think for me, of course, we're Cavs fans. I'll be watching Tyrese Proctor to see how he plays to start off, Jalen Tyson, Craig Porter, all those guys. But as far, the rest of the teams, Oklahoma City, the defending champs, I'm going to watch them because, of course, they have Thomas Sorber, who they drafted at 15. But we're also getting to see Nikola Topic, their lottery pick from last year, who missed all of the season with the ACL injury and is playing his first basketball in a while. And if he didn't have the injury, there was a chance he could have been a top 5 pick in that draft. So someone just to add to that core as well. So that's definitely someone I'm watching for there. There was one other team. Oh, the Blazers. Because I want to see how Hanson Yang plays, man.
Yes.
Chinese Jokic. We're going to get to see it in the flesh for the first time. So excited to see that as well. But yeah, lots of fun on the Summer League. We'll get to talk about it as the weeks go along. This is going to be our last basketball here to watch, our last live basketball for a few months. Last summer, we of course had the Summer League, but then we had the Olympics too to talk about. Now we'll have a lot of dead time where we can do a lot of games and rankings and stuff coming
Got
up.
a lot of fun things planned, though. Don't worry. I was going to say, we got a lot of games and fun things we're going to be doing.
Yeah, so definitely stay tuned throughout the off season. We have a game actually right now with Would You Rather. Nick, what do you have for us today with Would You Rather?
All right, very simple. I'm just going to go around the horn and ask you guys 5 simple Would You Rather questions from they're kind of theme current, but also like summary draft sort of. So let's just get into it. Now, for this first one, you guys can take the perspective. You can make a case for any team around the league. You can make the case for your favorite team, the Cavs, or anything that you find interesting about this question. Basically, would you rather have your team, a team, any team, sign Dame or trade for Giannis? I'll give you guys say if you're the Knicks. Would you rather have them trade for Giannis or sign Dame?
Let's see. Well, if I were the New York Knicks, I would probably be to trade for Giannis since you already have Brunson to play the 1. Then I don't know how good Dame and Brunson could play together with Towns in the middle. That'd be a little iffy there. I mean, Giannis on the Knicks would be incredible. They'd have to give up a lot in order to get him, but if I were the Knicks, that's probably what I would rather do in that situation.
I don't know. I think if I was the Cavs, why not both? Trade Garland and Allen and trade them, get Giannis, and then sign Dame as well because we need a 1 now. But no, I especially the Knicks. That's the thing. Do you give up almost everything to bring in a guy like that? So then you just have a Brunson and a Giannis just to carry your team? Or do you bring in someone like Dame, who is probably going to be out for a while, but he's going to be on a cheap contract and you'll have him for next year? That's the crazy thing. You never know. It's a very tough question. I would still probably go Giannis just because Dame is getting up there.
And he's coming off of an Achilles injury. I mean,
and coming off that injury, yeah, it's a brutal way to come back.
For me, I'm thinking, for my kids, it'd be Giannis. But I mean, team I did just think about is the Boston Celtics, and for them, I mean, I would have to give Dame because, they'll get Tatum back next year, and they got Jaylen Brown. I mean, they don't really need a wing player that much, and Lillard come in and and be a pretty good point guard when he came back. I mean, there are even some rumors recently that the Celtics could end up signing Lillard. So
I'll throw one more team then. What about the Magic?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Oh.
That is a very good question.
I think I would sign Dame just because their offense and shooting is horrendous and they need as much help as they can get. And if you bring in Giannis, he's not going to really stretch the floor too much for you.
That's a very good
question.
I
agree, Jimmy.
I'm also curious, what would you give up? What would the Bucks want for Giannis? Would you be asking for Franz? Would you Franz and Suggs, and then you're left?
I mean, probably, right?
Probably, yeah. I mean, you'd be asking for a lot. There's no question about it. For that Magic team, yeah, it'd probably be signed.
You could build around your big 3 would be Bane, Giannis, and Paolo.
It's pretty good.
That's a nasty combo.
That's pretty good, and you still have Anthony Black who could run your 1 if you want, and then you have solid centers as well. So yeah, probably either one is pretty good, but I will go sign Lillard for the Magic. That's a very good one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
All right. Next, would you rather? Would you rather lose your team's star player to injury, or have your team be eliminated in Game 7 on a buzzer beater?
Or do you want to be the Pacers and do both?
Well,
not to a buzzer beater, but
Oh man, Ben, you go first on this one since
Yeah, I gotta think.
So it's like a season-ending injury or
Season-ending injury or Game 7 elimination on a buzzer beater.
Is this
that's
Game
a
7
tough
of the
one.
finals, or is this?
You can
Uh,
whichever, whatever. I didn't make it specific.
Okay.
man, that's another good question. I would have to give the losing like your player to a season-ending injury that's a star player because, like, I mean, if it's the playoffs, that means it's probably going to be a bad injury. You just could be losing them like for next season, kind of like the Pacers are with Halliburton. Unfortunately, for next year, he won't be playing at all next year. It's the Pacers announced officially today, and I mean, kind of the same deal with the Celtics and with Tatum. So it's a tough question, but guess if I had to pick, it'd be losing the star player to injury. But any of those situations are really tough on any team, really.
Yeah, it's obviously. I mean, Nick just said it. It's a lose-lose
Yeah.
situation, regardless of what you pick. Joey, this is interesting because what I was kind of thinking of is if you were to ask this question to a Philadelphia 76ers fan and ask them if they would have rather had the 2019 season where they lost on a Game 7 buzzer beater or this past season where everyone is injured and they never had a chance. What would you rather have as a fan? I don't know. I would probably, just so you don't have as much stress, you have the injuries, because then there's like not as much pressure to really do much. Like
That's the thing. As a fan, speaking from the fans' perspective, you're like, well, I'd rather have the injury because it's more of an excuse. Like you kind of lose the hope. It's like, we don't really expect to win. But I feel like as a if you're part of that team, I feel like it would be so heartbreaking to lose a Game 7 buzzer beater. But it's got to give you hope and be like, man, we were that close. Let's just do it next year. Come on, we just can't like lose focus at all. Like, I don't know. I think I would rather lose a Game 7 buzzer beater personally, just because if like what you guys said, like if you lose someone in the playoffs or even like halfway through the year at like the All-Star break and they have a season-ender injury, kind of takes out the rest of this year, no matter how much hope you had going into that, and the beginning of next year. Or if you lose it in the playoffs, all of the next year. Like, you kind of wasted almost 2 years, it seems. Like, I'd rather have just the one time, get it out of the heartbreak, and, like, hope again next year. I'm relying on all the hope.
That's fair. That's probably what the Sixers fans were thinking in 2019, but then they picked Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. So trust the process.
Yeah.
Nick, what's the third one?
Next, would you rather have your favorite team win the number 1 pick 3 years in a row, or have your favorite team be a shoo-in to get past the first round 3 years in a row, but you don't know what's going to happen after that?
So this is interesting because, well, Joey, as a Cavs fan, kind of experienced this.
Yeah.
You either have 3 chances at a title or a surefire thing with 3 first-round picks. First number 1 picks.
Well, as a Cavs fan, I basically witnessed it. We got Kyrie, Wiggins, and Anthony Bennett, and only one of them helped us. Well, technically you could say 2 because Wiggins did help.
And Bennett was in the trade, so all 3 of them helped.
Oh, I forgot Bennett was in the trade. I guess all 3. But let's come on. Come on. No, I would much rather have the 3 first round just get past the first round, because if you're looking at I'd rather not have the number 1 pick 3 years in a row,
playoffs.
just because that means we're bad 3 years in a row. It's kind of like the Sixers. They trusted the process, got 3, like they got all those number 1 picks, all those crazy top picks, and here they are like 10 years later and nothing has come to fruition. I don't know.
Ben, what do
I'd
you-
rather.
Ben, what do you think?
Yeah.
Ben,
I
what
would
do you think?
rather have like what Joey said. I mean, 3 first overall picks in a row would be pretty nice for a bad team looking to rebuild. That would be pretty lucky. But I mean, at least I guess you're having some success as a team and not like just terrible every year. And if you're making the playoffs and going like the first round, second round, something like that. I guess I'd rather have, some good success like that still than be bad all those years. So kind of like what Joey said.
Yeah,
It really depends
look
on
at
which.
Orlando. That's the thing. Look at Orlando. They haven't made it past the first round, like you were saying earlier in the video.
Well, okay, so, well, honestly, you could say this is kind of like, as Cavs fans, we've experienced the first overall pick thing, and we could very well currently be in the process of 3 shoe-in first-round wins, and we don't know what happens, and we're in year 2 of that process. So we're kind of in both situations now. For the first overall picks, this is super tough. For the first overall picks, it obviously depends on which 3 years in a row you get it, because looking back, if you got it 3 years in a row from 2002 to 2004, you get Yao Ming, LeBron James, and Dwight Howard. But then immediately after the next 3 years, it's Andrew Bogut, Andrea Bargnani, and Greg Oden. And obviously, Greg Oden had injuries, but that's a stark difference than the previous 3 years. So I'll go with the 3 first round shoo-ins, because you'll always have a chance to win, and it's really, you're always going to be winning throughout the process. You may not win the title, but I even stand by it, regardless of what happens with the Cavaliers during this era or everything. I'll look back over this era of Mitchell, Mobley, Garland, or whatever, no matter what happens, and say, man, I had a lot of fun as a fan, way more than I bet that any Cavs fan had in the first post-LeBron era with Dion Waiters and Tyler Zeller, and
From firsthand experience, that was a brutal time. Not even the first bowl was full at those games. That's the thing. During those years, nobody go to the games oh, it's fun watching the #1 picks. Yeah, but you're terrible. There's no energy in the stadium. There's nothing. It's not enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely more fun now. So I'll go with the first round or the shoe-in first round.
Yeah.
All right. You guys gotta.
You know what? Wait, before we move on, Nick, what would you take in that situation?
I don't know. I might take the picks.
The first picks.
I was planning on rattling my 5 answers off at the end and not having to explain anything.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
But since we stopped now, I'll go trade for Giannis, the buzzer beater, and take the picks.
Okay. All right. Number 4.
Okay. We got 2 left. So, would you rather watch OKC go back-to-back this year, or watch Harden, Russ, or Durant win a ring this year?
I would much rather see.
You mean what, in their prime, 2000?
No. I mean, for the 2025-2026 NBA season, would you rather see OKC run it back, or have Russ finally win one, Harden finally win one, or Durant get a second?
Okay.
With the Rockets now, I mean, new team, leader. They all have a decent storyline, and I'm just wondering what you'd rather see.
I would give anything to see Russ win a championship. I'm not gonna lie. I'll take that any day. He especially after those years in OKC, and he just carrying that entire franchise on his back. I think he's one of the most deserving players without a ring in the NBA right now. I truly believe so. So I'll pick that one 100%.
I agree.
I hate back-to-back teams.
Yeah,
I really do. I like seeing new teams every year.
Okay, that was a simple consensus reached very quickly.
And I also, I'll add something before we move on. I mean, OKC, of course, they're on the path to potentially be a dynasty with all these young players. You do not have to win back-to-back titles to be a dynasty throughout the run. You just have to have sustained success, like one of Joey's favorite teams, the Spurs, over the years. They never won back-to-back titles. A lot of people may not know that. The Spurs never won back-to-back titles, but they are still a dynasty. So, you can still be a dynasty, not win, 2, 3 in a row.
Would you rather be a dynasty or win back-to-back times? I'm just kidding. All right, the last one I have, basically the first one I could come up with. Would you rather begin a new NBA franchise with Victor Wembanyama or Nikola Jokic?
Both at the beginning of their careers,
Or just now?
or now?
Well,
like if we
Jokic-
brought up the Seattle Supersonics right now.
Yeah, how old is
in the
Jokic?
draft.
Well, Jokic is, what, 30? Let me see here. Nikola Jokic.
Okay, now he's got another 10 years.
No, he doesn't, bro. I saw videos of him watching his horse. Do you see him? He wants to retire as soon as possible to go back over in Croatia.
He's 30.
He is 30.
He's been playing for 10 years.
I'm telling you, he's got 5 years left, max.
Okay, Jokic 5 years ago, or Vic now.
Yeah, let's say, let's see. Wemby's going into his 3rd year, or that's not really fair because Jokic didn't break out until later. So I guess we could say, would 2020 Jokic or current
2020
Wemby, who would
Jokic.
you rather start with?
Uh,
That's a tough one. Look, I'll go Wemby, honestly. I'll go Wembanyama because of the defense as well. I mean, you really can't go wrong with either of these situations, but Wemby, he's done more in his career than Jokic did over the first, 5 years or whatever. And, he's on path to have an incredible career. Now, probably the argument against that would be that Wembanyama just had a season-ending injury and, the blood clot situation, you might be concerned about his health. So, I could see both ways, but I'll go with Wembanyama for this one.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I gotta agree with mine. I'd go Wembanyama too because he's a great defense, great shot blocking too, and he's already done kind of a lot for his first 2 years. Now he's started to turn into a superstar. I believe he could have an amazing NBA career as long as he stays healthy. I believe he would be able to stay somewhat healthy, would hopefully be able to bring a team, like multiple championships.
I'll be the odd one then. I'm gonna take Jokic. I as much as I love Wemby, the injury concerns really do concern me. Blood clots are nothing to mess around with.
Yeah.
They really aren't. And if they go away this year, they might come back in a couple more. Like, you really don't know. And I don't know, especially 2020 Jokic. That dude was literally just hitting his stride at that time and getting to become the best player in the world. And he makes, as I say, he makes everybody better. So even if you get like solid role players around him, he can turn them easily into maybe a potential all-star. Like, he makes everybody better. I would much rather take Jokic.
I would take Jokic as well. I think the health thing, just the frame of him on a basketball court is more imposing as like a franchise sort of figure. Not that Wemby's anything like unimposing. He's 7'6" and he takes great care of his body, and he's always done that. And he's always taking great care of his body, and he moves like a freak for 7'6". So the other thing is the passing of Jokic, I think, is a level above, and like the in terms of just the network going on up here, I think his computer's a bit superhumaner.
Oh, well, for sure. Definitely superhumaner. That's definitely a word you could use for Nikola Jokic. He's one of the best passing bigs of all time. I will say, going into, I guess this is year 5 or year 6 of Nikola Jokic, there were definitely a lot of concerns about his defensive liabilities on the floor, and if him being so slow and unathletic was actually going to hold fort and eventually, become a great player. I mean, I don't know if anyone saw 3 MVPs, 5 years ago. So there's that too, but definitely good points. This is a tough one. I definitely would love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. Who would you rather start a franchise with, current Wemby or I guess 24-year-old Nikola Jokic? But that's it for Would You Rather, Nick. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Very,
Thank
very
you.
good. But that's it for this podcast here. You guys have anything else before we get out of here?
Don't think so.
No.
All right, let's roll on out of here then. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.